Hey guys, today is Tuesday, October 6th. The time is 4:54 p.m. and the temperature is around 16 degrees Celsius. I'm here in Trinity Bellwoods Park, located in the West Queen West neighborhood. And the plan for this walk is to head south down Strachan Avenue to Richmond Street West, where I will walk east for about 3 kilometers over to Yonge Street. That's just a look east down Queen Street West. And as soon as the light changes here, I'll head south down Strachan. I was in this area yesterday to record a video down Adelaide Street West. However, I didn't bring the correct equipment, so I ended up just recording a live stream. And since I headed down Adelaide on the live stream, I thought I would change it up and cover a slightly different route today. It seems to be taking this light forever to change here. This is where Strachan Avenue terminates, right at the foot of Trinity Bellwoods Park, and it will run south all the way down to Lakeshore.
It's okay.
Just to the west of here is the King West Village. And a few blocks to the south is King Street West. However, I'll be turning left right here onto Richmond Street. Richmond Street is a one-way street that runs east to west. And this is where it terminates. And since there's parked cars along the north side, I'll head on over to the south side. There's not much in the way of notable or historic buildings along Richmond Street. I tried to look that up on my way over here, and the search didn't really turn up much. And one street to the south of here, or I guess the next street to the south, is Adelaide Street, which is a one-way street that runs parallel to Richmond in the opposite direction. And that was the street that I live streamed down yesterday all the way to Yonge Street. And then I actually continued on east a bit more, and I headed up north on George Street, which was kind of fun. Richmond always has kind of a back alley feel to it. Even though it is one of the main streets that eventually runs through the financial district, which is where this walk will terminate. It always feels like it gets the backside of the main buildings. And even this far west in a predominantly residential area, it still has that same kind of feeling. There's a look north to Queen Street. You'll notice there are markings for bicycles on Richmond Street. As we get into the downtown core, they actually turn into a dedicated cycling track. And there's another cycling track on Adelaide. And Richmond and Adelaide have combined for making up the most popular or most used cycling track in the city of Toronto. Although I'd be curious if Bloor Street now has more cycling traffic. I don't think there's updated numbers on that yet. And this is Niagara Street. So Richmond continues just on the other side here. There's kind of a neat looking mural just up ahead. I'll go take a look at.
Follow me.
And for some reason, there's a news crew in the area. They probably wouldn't like it if I started hitting a bunch of the switches on that switchboard there. The little kid in me is tempted to do that. The bicycle lanes on Richmond and Adelaide were initially part of a pilot project that was run between 2014 and 2016. And eventually the city of Toronto decided to make them permanent. I think that was last year. And at the same time, they also made the cycling lanes on Simcoe and Peter Street permanent. I think it's a much nicer way to cycle across the city through Richmond and Adelaide than Queen or King, which are the major streets just to the north and south of these two. And just up ahead past Bathurst Street, we'll be entering the Fashion District. And that'll carry on through the Old Entertainment District. And if I'm not mistaken, I think just up ahead here on the left, there are some heritage homes. Starting at 703. Or rather on the right, as they seem to be even numbered on the left. There's 705. That must be them. So these homes are known as the West Robertson Cottages. Or perhaps they included some of those other homes. I walked by on the other side of these because they look like they might also be part of this block. I think more specifically these smaller bungalows right here. And those ones date back to 1859 apparently. So this here is Tecumseh Street. And what looks to be a church. This is the Ukrainian Baptist Church. And I could not tell you anything about it. It's kind of interesting. They have tires for planters for those flowers. So I'm not quite in downtown yet. The temperature today has kind of been all over the place. I was out at a Starbucks before I came downtown to record this, and there were times where it was quite cold and I thought I was going to be underdressed. I think it went as low as 12 or 13, and then it got as warm as 18. It's not so bad right now. I'm rather comfortable, especially now that I'm walking. The rehearsal factory, I guess that's some kind of music recording studio or a rehearsal space, more like it, obviously. And this is Bathurst Street, just up ahead. So once I cross over, I'll officially be in downtown. Look kind of neat. Take a look at this. Halloween / harvest themed outdoor seating setup for the Fallen Leaves Food and Wine Bar pop-up. I thought this used to be a soccer themed pub. But like a lot of businesses through this pandemic, it has changed. So from here on out, Richmond is decidedly less residential, as this area is known as the Fashion District. As there were a number of textile and garment factories in this area, all of which are no longer around, of course. And it's not a name you often hear people refer to this part of the city as. Looks like there's a massage therapy clinic in this old home. I can't imagine these will hang on for too much longer. I'm just gonna head across the street and take a look at this development site, which is a giant pit. I'm assuming this will be condos. And this next street is Portland Street. So in between Portland and Queen, just up ahead, you will find Graffiti Alley, which runs parallel to Richmond Street. I have recorded that in prior videos before, but it's just a series of laneways connected to one main laneway, which has been decorated in a lot of colorful street art. And here we have the Alex Wilson Community Garden. Let's take a look. It's kind of a neat space. Looks like this neat building here is a gallery and event space. Here's some new condos growing out of what used to be an old warehouse space. This is the type of Toronto street that will feel like it's a permanent construction zone. And the next major street up ahead will be Spadina. And this is Branch Street. You could take this down to King Street. Just south of here is sort of the new main nightlife district. Most of the city's nightlife was located just to the east of here, which is straight ahead, along Richmond and Adelaide, but it's since migrated to just south of here along King Street. And a big reason for that is a lot of these new condo developments started to move in. A lot of these old warehouses made perfect homes for a lot of the larger clubs back in the day. But redevelopment has since driven most of that out of this area coming up.
Richmond and Sherburne, so all I had to do is get on the
You might notice a lack of public transit along Richmond Street. It's not really necessary, as one block to the north of here, there is a streetcar that runs east to west along Queen Street. And 2 blocks to the south of here is another streetcar line on King Street. There's Comfort and Kim, which is a vegetarian fast food style restaurant. And just to the north of here along Spadina is Chinatown, of course. To the south, it'll eventually terminate at Lake Ontario. There you can see the CN Tower sticking out on top of some of those condos. And there's a Mama's Pizza. You don't see too many of those these days in the city. That used to be a pretty common chain. There's an excellent coffee shop down in there called the Roastery, just in the corner. There's a gallery occupying this old building, which I think was an old garment factory, if I'm not mistaken. There's all kinds of older structures like that in this area. And the next street here will be Peter Street. This new condo development straight ahead used to sit sort of near the epicenter of the old clubbing area. I remember there was an old Pizza Nova that used to be frequented by the post 2 a.m. crowd, and across the street was one of the original, if not the original, Burrito Boys, which has since changed names and then closed down, unfortunately. There still are Burrito Boys and I guess the sister chain Burrito Banditos still all over the city though, so that's good. And on the northeast corner there used to be a night spot known as Fez Boutique, but somewhat controversially, the city turned it into a homeless shelter.
I remember this conversation.
And I believe up in there used to be a club called This Is London, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of the more popular clubs in the area. This whole street used to just be lined with nightclubs. And there was one right here that I think had a slide that came out of the exterior. I forget the name. There was so many of them, and they were always changing their name every other year.
I'm really stingy with my vacation days.
This building here is one of my more favorite of the new condos in the city. Anything that's not a generic glass box tends to catch my eye. And on the right here is a RioCan development, formerly occupied by the Paramount movie theater, but now Scotiabank theaters. And where the store is, called the Linen Chest, used to be a club called Republic. It's kind of a sign how things have changed around here. I'm pretty sure there was a club in that building there, 296. And this movie theater here is kind of an institution in the area. It changed from the Paramount to Scotiabank when Cineplex took over Famous Players. But currently there is a proposal to redevelop it into a couple of mixed-use towers of 39 and 40 stories. And that would kind of signal an end to the current movie theater and its gigantic escalator that leads up to it. There are plans for a new theater to be located in that spot, but it certainly wouldn't be anywhere near the size and scale of the current one. And there's a Marshall's there. That used to be originally a Sega Palladium, which was like a Dave & Buster's kind of development. And that gave way to a giant nightclub called Circa, which eventually turned into a Marshall's. Again, more signs of the kind of changes we've seen in this area. this bowling pub here. The Ballroom used to be known as Montana. And a lot of the bars and restaurants just on the left side there are slated to be redeveloped. One building that I think will always be a picture of the area is the old City TV headquarters. Now, of course, owned by CTV. That used to house Much Music and Speaker's Corner. It's kind of a fixture of the neighborhood. And this parking lot has been turned into a giant outdoor patio space. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a joint venture between the Ballroom right there and the Fifth Social Lounge, which is another club. Or rather, it's more like a bar, which is located straight ahead. And where this Chum Radio building is, I think used to be a club called Whiskey Saigon, which later changed its name to an establishment called Joe. We're going back about 15, 20 years for that. And this is Duncan Street. There's the Fifth. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a McLaren that just rolled past. Just gonna cross over to the other side here. And just up here on the left is the famous Yuck Yucks Comedy Club, although I'm not sure if they're operating right now. It says rooftop patio now open, but that might just be operating as a bar. Actually, that is a completely separate establishment. I've always thought the stage layout and that Yuck Yucks was a bit awkward.
L as in Larry, A as in Apple.
Also, what was it, just her?
I used to go there quite regularly on Tuesdays, which was an amateur night. Admission was low, the beer was not expensive, and usually it's a pretty good time. I don't know if they're still doing that. And there used to be a Yuck Yucks up in Midtown Toronto, which is now a Absolute Comedy. So we're kind of entering the downtown core through the financial district at 5:30. So this would normally be in the latter half of rush hour. It would still be quite busy, but even though there's a fair bit of vehicle traffic, it's relatively dead. And this is University Avenue coming up. There's a look at some of the towers of the financial district. And the Hilton Hotel immediately there with a Ruth Chris Steakhouse. These are two-phase traffic lights, so you have to be pretty quick once they change. And that is Osgood subway station just to the north here, and a few blocks to the south is St. Andrews subway station. And that across the street is the Four Seasons Center of the Performing Arts, or for the Performing Arts, something like that. That is our new opera house. It opened in 2006. It sits at the corner of Queen and University, as well as Richmond and University. Although Richmond gets the short end of the straw, as it's really just the backside of it. And that is home to the Canadian Opera Company and the National Ballet of Canada, if I'm not mistaken. And it's interesting that it's built on top of subway tracks. So I think there's rubber bushings in the foundation to sort of isolate it from the vibrations and other noises emanating from the subway. And as you can see, I only have 9 more seconds to cross this. And despite being the city's big opera house, it was built on quite a budget. That's why you have such an uninspired design as a flat wall. Okay. Hopefully that person gets some much needed help. And we are into the northern part of the financial district. And as I mentioned earlier, Richmond often feels more like a back alley kind of street. I certainly wish they rethought how Four Seasons Performing Center, or however you say it, fronted the street. It's really kind of disappointing. All it does is cast a shadow and add nothing in terms of character to Richmond. And here is the Sheraton Center, kind of a brutalist 60s and 70s style hotel. And on the other side of that is the new City Hall and Nathan Phillips Square, where you'll find the newly revamped and, in my opinion, unimproved Toronto sign. Often, if you look into the hotel here to the left, you'll see countless luxury cars and supercars, but I think hotel business is way down these days. And that building there, 111, houses Google. Maybe I can cross over and get some kind of visual confirmation of that. I probably want to be on the other side of the street anyways. That's the good thing about jaywalking a one-way street. It's relatively easy to do. Oh, there we go. I think Google is moving into a big headquarters on King Street East, just to the east of the financial district. I don't know if those plans are still going ahead or not. Certainly the pandemic has affected business in this area quite significantly. The office towers here are nowhere near full capacity. And I don't really know how the landlords will respond in terms of lowering their rent to keep their tenants, or if they'll evict them and just have vacant units. As I can't imagine life returning to this, or normal to this area, anytime soon, even once we finally get over this virus. I think there's definitely going to be a trend towards working at home and less people in the financial district. This is Shepherd Street. So this will give you a nice vista towards Canada's tallest building for now, First Canadian Place. And this building here, if I'm not mistaken, is the Graphic Arts Building. And I thought it dated back to 1913. Oh, there we go, Graphic Arts Building. I knew I had seen that in the building somewhere. And here is Bay Street. This runs through the heart of the city's financial district. I'm going to try to make this light. Let's look at Old City Hall to the north. There's a look south through the main high-rise corridor. The camera seems to be pointing up right now. Let me just see if I can fix that. There we go. Hopefully it wasn't doing that for too long. I think it's running there that threw it off. So there is the Hudson's Bay, which occupies the west side of the building, and on the east side of that building is Saks Fifth Avenue. And it's connected via a second floor bridge to the Eaton Center. And this is a heritage property, I believe. Its official address is on Queen Street. And just to my right is the third phase of the Bay Adelaide Center being constructed. Let's see if we can get a look in here. There it is, starting to rise. So this will be the third tower in the complex. That is the complex where they filmed the TV show Suits. And for the longest time, there was just an elevator stump. There was originally to be a large tower on that property that was going up in the late 80s, and then a recession hit. So a partially built stump. It was only a few stories high, but it had been fully excavated, sat there for well over a decade, I think closer to 2 decades, before they finally resumed construction, or rather started again. And this is where Richmond Street West comes to an end at Yonge Street. As I cross over, it'll turn into, okay, Mr. Fancy Car, it'll turn into Richmond Street East. And it'll head down to approximately just before the Don River, where along with Adelaide Street, it'll join up and they will merge into Eastern Avenue, which runs along the eastern part of town, east of the Don River. And I think I'm gonna pop in there and have a snack. Those 250 Mama Burgers are calling my name. So I hope you enjoyed this walk down Richmond Street West, starting at Strachan Avenue and heading all the way to Yonge Street. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. There are links to my Patreon and Instagram accounts. I don't know why I pronounced it like that. But for now, I think there's a couple of Mama Burgers in there that have my name on it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you on the next one.